Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to get started here. I'm going to be recording every class, but I know that at some point this semester, I'm going to forget to click that record button. So I remember today. You don't have to do it today, but for all future lectures, please feel free at the very beginning of class, any of you, to speak up and say, hey, Ted, did you click the record button? Unless I've already said it. If you remind me and I've forgotten, and then I remember because you reminded me, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's gonna be one of those things where if I do forget it, then if somebody misses class and I don't have the recording, I'm gonna feel really bad. So your cooperation would definitely be helpful. I've got a lot going on this semester, as I'm sure you do as well. And I know that's gonna be one of those things that slips past me at least once. So your help would be appreciated. I appreciate you joining me today. My name is Ted. I am the instructor for this class. For today, we're going to keep this pretty simple. I'm going to work through just an intro lecture on what we're going to be doing throughout the semester, who I am, how this class works, especially given that it is a synchronous online class. Some of you may have experienced with that in the last semester or two. This is the first time that I've done an online class in a synchronous fashion, so this is a little bit new for me. So we'll talk a little bit about how I think it's going to work. I'm going to ask for your flexibility as we move through the semester, because we might have to adjust things a little bit. And then we'll talk today also about some reasonable expectations that you should have of me and expectations that I'm going to have of you as students in this class for the semester. I'm going to work through this slide deck. If you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. And when I'm done with the slide deck, I'll go take a look at it and answer any questions you might have as I'm working through the slide deck. And then I'll obviously open it up for any questions you might have, where you can unmute yourself and ask your questions using your voice if you want to as well. And I will be taking roll at the end of this, so stick around for the whole thing, because at the end I'm going to want to make sure that you are actually here for today's lecture. Participation is going to be one of those things that's really important in this class, not so much today, but moving forward. So we're going to get in the habit of taking roll in this class on a regular basis. So first, just a couple things about me. You have my permission, my encouragement to call me by my first name. I know some Texas A&M students really struggle with this. I've been teaching for a really long time, actually more than 25 years at this point. And so when I started, I was much closer to your age, and I didn't have any gray hair, and there was a lot more stuff to the top of my head. So the idea of having students call me Professor Boone or Dr. Boone seemed kind of silly. I am not a doctor. I don't have a PhD, so don't call me that. If you have to call me Professor Boone, that's fine. I'll answer to it, but I don't need that from you. I don't need the fancy title. You can call me Ted. That would make me actually more comfortable. I am originally from Delaware. I went to University of Delaware for my undergraduate degree and my graduate degree. I actually went to the same high school as our future president of the United States, Joe Biden. His son actually went to my high school while I was there. We didn't run in the same circles, but I knew him and he was a nice guy. I'm really excited actually that the future president of the United States is from my alma mater, so that's pretty cool. After I went through my MBA program at the University of Delaware, I worked for a little while in industry. I worked for Hewlett Packard for a little while in their gas chromatograph plant. I worked for a pilot plant for Zeneca Pharmaceuticals before they became AstraZeneca. And I worked for a couple of years as an independent computer consultant in the Philadelphia market. Very small company where we did all sorts of things related to computers and networking and programming and databases. So this class is about data manipulation and data languages and data structuring. And I've done that in industry, and I've taught that again for more than 2 decades. So this class is a really fun class for me because we get to kind of play around with how we think about how real world data works, how it talks to one another, how it integrates, and how we allow data to shape the way the business works, and how we allow the business to shape the way that data works, and how there's kind of this flow back and forth from how we manipulate data and how we do our jobs. And so I'm really excited about teaching this class, and hopefully you'll have a good time learning the various tools and techniques that we'll explore this semester. I did go to Penn State for graduate school. I had the intention of getting a PhD to teach full time. That lasted about a year, and I realized that I really loved teaching, but I really did not like the research side of things. So I actually dropped back to a terminal master's from Penn State and then started teaching full time. And so I taught at University of Delaware for a while. I taught at Penn State. I taught at William and Mary in Virginia for a couple years. I taught for 6 years at University of Kansas. So I am a diehard Jayhawks basketball fan. They're not looking great this year. They looked really good last year before everything went to pieces, but they look okay this year. We'll see what happens. I've been teaching here for more than 10 years. I love teaching at Texas A&M. And the primary reason why I like teaching here is we have great students. And I know that sounds like something that I absolutely should be saying to you guys to butter you up, but it is true. You guys are great students and I really enjoy teaching here. And I'm sure that this semester will be no exception, even though we are living in interesting times and I won't get to meet you in person. I think delivering this content virtually will still be a really rewarding experience for you and for me. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. A couple other things about me. I do have 2 dogs and a cat. At some point, you will probably see some of them. Actually, my cat is hanging out in my office right now. My dogs are unusual. They are a breed called Brussels Griffons, kind of uncommon. To me, I describe them as skinny pugs. They're a little bit smaller than a pug. They're like 8 to 12 pounds and smush face. And so you might see Waffle at some point. Sometimes he hangs out on my lap while I'm talking. So you might get the chance to see him on camera. Our cat's just a traditional orange tabby. He's much bigger than our dogs and he absolutely rules the roost. We've had the opportunity actually this past year, because of our current situation, to foster some animals. So we fostered 3 different puppies through a rescue group called Long Way Home. And we currently have 2 kittens, and they are, I think, our 14th and 15th kitten that we've had in the household that we are fostering until they get adopted. And that's been really rewarding. So at some point you might see some cute kittens. Sometimes my wife comes in holding a kitten to show to my students. So you may get an opportunity to see that. Our 2 kittens right now are very, very nervous and scared. So they're not ready for show and tell quite yet, but maybe at some point. If you are in the market for a pet, or you know somebody who is, let me know, because I'll point them in the direction of a couple of rescue groups here locally that are really good groups that have animals that are available for adoption. I'm happy to do that. I am married. My wife, Marissa, is actually an Aggie. She graduated with her PhD in psychology a couple years ago from Texas A&M. And she now works for a Swedish technology company named Tobii Technologies. They have eye tracking hardware and software where they pay attention to, either on a computer screen or out in the real world, what you're looking at, how long you're looking at something, how your pupils dilate when you look at things. And they use that equipment to study all sorts of things: psychological behavior, learning. They look at it from a marketing perspective or a WebEx design perspective. And so she works on the research side of things with people all over the world, helping them design experiments and determine the appropriate equipment and software and data analytics they should be using to conduct their experiments, which is pretty cool. The picture on this slide is of us in Stockholm, Sweden, when we were visiting her company's worldwide headquarters, which is a really neat experience. I'm an avid triathlete. I'm actually the president of the local triathlon club. Triathlon has not been doing too much in the last year, unfortunately, but I am signed up for hopefully a half Ironman this April in Galveston. And if that doesn't happen, and it may not, I'm very hopeful that my big event will happen in June. I'm signed up for my first full Ironman in June in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. For folks who don't know anything about triathlons, a full Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and then a 26.2 mile or marathon run. And if that sounds terrible to you, you are smarter than I am. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm training all the time, which is one of the reasons why I have this fake background behind me. Is my office is now a pet storage facility and exercise room. So it looks a mess. So instead of seeing my actual office, you're going to see these tranquil backgrounds. I wish this is what my actual office looked like. It's kind of a mess at the moment. But I am very avid about triathlons. If you're all interested in triathlon, let me know when we meet at some point. I'm happy to talk to you about it further. Last thing is I have written and published a book. It's on Amazon. You can find it in a Kindle version or a paperback version. I always offer to sign people's paperbacks if they buy the hardback. So if you do want a signature, I'll find a way to mask up and meet you on campus this semester and sign your book if you want it. There's an Audible version as well. So if you're not a book reader, but you're a book listener, There's an Audible version that's gotten some really good reviews. The book in general has gotten really good reviews. I think it's great, of course. And since you're my captive audience, I'm going to mention it just in case I can sell a couple of people on buy the book. It's a young adult science fiction, so it's very approachable. And I've gotten all kinds of different people to read it, and they seem to have really enjoyed it. Maybe you will too. All right, let's talk a little bit about my background in terms of this material. I mentioned that I definitely have been teaching this for a long time. My start with computers is actually even older than that. Christmas 1980, way before most of you were born. I was 9 years old, and I wanted the same thing that all 9-year-olds that year wanted, which was this. If you're not familiar with it, it's an Atari 2600 gaming console. It was the thing back in 1979, 1980, 1981. It ran at something like 6 hertz. So this was not a particularly fancy machine, but it played all kinds of games, Space Invaders, Missile Command, that kind of thing. I was very disappointed to find out that Santa Claus was not bringing me this, but I was lucky because Santa Claus had the foresight to get me this instead. This is an Atari 400 computer, and while it did play games, it also had a slot underneath that door for a cartridge where you could plug in BASIC. You can actually learn how to program. So I started programming back in January of 1981. I got involved in networking when I started senior year of high school. My uncle worked for DuPont, and he actually ran a bulletin board service in our state, and I was involved in that. And I've been doing database since 1991. Actually, when I was in college, I was designing some databases for one of the departments on campus at University of Delaware. So I've done this stuff for a really long time. I love this stuff. I'm excited about teaching this stuff. I'm excited about doing it. And I hope that my enthusiasm will shine through this semester as we move through this material. And I hope you'll be as enthused as I am. If you are not, I won't take it personally. So it is okay as we move through the semester for you to say, yeah, this just isn't for me. It's not personal at all if you don't like the same things that I like. I hope that I can still encourage some enthusiasm for you where you say, it's not for me, but it was still kind of fun and I learned a lot. That's certainly going to be my goal. But you don't have to fake it with me. If this is not your thing, that's okay. We can still be friends. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be trying to accomplish this semester. What we're going to be looking at in this class is how we structure data, how we organize data, and how we query data. And then at the end of the semester, how we visualize that data. So to start with, we're going to be talking about how data works together, how the different pieces of information inform other pieces of information inside the system, how it allows for certain data to be changed or not changed, how interrelationships between those data inform real world business rules. We'll be talking a lot about that for the first part of the semester. We'll then be talking about how we organize the data in software, how we extract information from a website or from other documents in our company and bring them into a database, how we transform them so they fit into a proper data model, and then how we load them into a system so we can use that information. Then we'll be talking a little bit about how we query the data. So how do we ask questions of the data to get valuable information or knowledge out of that data? Data by itself isn't all that useful, but if we can look for patterns, trends, groupings, clusters, we can glean some information and do something useful with that data. And that will be the third part of our semester. And then at the end of the semester, you guys will be doing some projects where you're going to be taking all of this and further giving us knowledge through visualization. And we're going to be using a couple of different techniques for visualizing the data in this class. So lots of different aspects of looking at how data works in a real world environment. I'm excited about it, and I think that you're going to have a really good time learning how all of these different things work. There are going to be a couple things that we're going to have to do this semester in this synchronous environment. And one of the things we're going to have to talk about is how we're going to be sharing our screens. And one of the options I'm going to suggest to you is sharing your screens using Lucidchart. So if I go look over at my browser real quick, there are a couple software packages that you're going to have to be using this semester. Late in the semester for the visualization for your group efforts, you guys are going to be using Tableau. If you go to tableau.com and there's a link in the syllabus, you can get a free version. You can get access to the free version of Tableau as students. So you're going to want to do that sometime relatively soon. And then outside of the classroom experience, Throughout the semester, I'm encouraging you to work through the various Tableau videos that are available on lynda.com. Many of you have probably visited Lynda before and seen some of these videos. If you've not, it's a great resource for learning how various software applications work. And this particular set of lessons is great for getting ramped up on how our Tableau software works. And this is something that is your responsibility. I'm not going to be policing you on learning the Tableau software. I'm giving you access to the Lynda software, and you guys can watch those videos so that when you get to those assignments at the end of the semester, you'll be ready to use Tableau for the visualization of your data. So that's one of the aspects of this class. Earlier on in the semester, when we're talking about data structure, we're going to be sharing various documents. In the past, when we met in person, I would just have people come up to the front of the classroom and draw on the whiteboard or the chalkboard. We obviously don't have that as a means of sharing information. One way that you can share information with me in the classroom when I'm asking you to contribute is using the software Lucidchart. You can again get a free version of this. Now, I already have an account in Lucidchart. If I just quickly log in here. Let's see here. One sec. I have access to Lucidchart. What I noticed though, since last time I taught this class, is it's kind of canceled out my free version of this. But if you go to your account, once you set up your account in Lucidchart, you should be able to find this education upgrade, try it for free. And all of you as students can certify that you're students and you can get access to the free education or pro version of Lucidchart. And you're going to want to do that because it gives you access to some of the fancier diagrams. And one of the ones we're going to have access to earlier is this ER diagram. And it is something that is not available unless you upgrade to that more advanced version of Lucidchart. Lucidchart will allow you to draw these fancy diagrams where you can move these things around and draw various connections between what we call entities and attributes and relationships. And of course, we'll talk about all those in later classes. So this would be a great tool for you to share your visualization of an in-class exercise with me. I am not limiting you to this. If you have another means of sharing drawings in class and you want to use that, it's perfectly fine with me. So if you are on an iPad and you're just drawing in a drawing application and you want to share that with the class, that's fine. If you want to use another software package you're familiar with that does some sort of entity relationship diagrams, that's also fine with me. Whatever works for you. But if I call on you in class and say, let's see your diagram for a problem from the workbook, you need to have some tool available to you that will allow you to do so. So I'm asking you as students to figure out whatever that means is going to be so that when we're in our Zoom classrooms, you can share your work with me and the other students, and we can talk about your potential solution and what works and what doesn't work. Lucidchart is one possible solution. I think it's a good one, but you are welcome to use whatever you want as long as you have something in place. I hope that makes sense.
For the student login,
Yeah.
should we use the enterprise option on the website?
I don't know because I've had my account for a while, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
What are the two choices? What are the multiple choices?
It's free, individual, team, and enterprise.
Oh, no, you'd want to do free to start with, and then you can use that educate to upgrade once you get your account set up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how the classroom is going to work. Today is me talking at you for the most part. In some classes, it's going to be me delivering some PowerPoint slides. So it's going to be me talking to you and you listening. But in a lot of the classrooms this semester, it's going to be all of us working together on various workbook problems. If you look on eCampus, there are workbooks for this class, and we're going to be working through a variety of different examples in the classroom together, where 2 or 3 or 4 students are going to show us what they think their solution is to the problem, and we're going to talk about how they came up with their solution and why their solution works or doesn't work, or maybe there are multiple ways that we can solve a problem. So it's going to be a lot of back and forth communication where you are contributing work that you've done before class with other students, And then other students are chiming in and discussing what you did right, what you did wrong, what they do differently. And that's going to be the major way that we learn how this material actually works. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth. You're going to need to have a camera that works and a microphone that works and some means of sharing your screen to show us what you've been doing. When you were in class with me during the 75 minutes, the only thing you're using your computer for is talking to me. If it's obvious when I'm looking at my screen that you're completely distracted, you're doing something else, I'm going to call you out on that. I'm expecting you to pay attention to just this class for 75 minutes. I know that some of that seems like a big ask, but 75 minutes of focus from you where the only thing you're doing is this class. I don't want to see any use of these. In fact, I only have it on my desk to demonstrate right now. It's terrible because this fake background. No cell phones. Put them away. Don't even have them on your desk. Put them in another room somewhere. Don't get distracted by your phones. No phones ringing, nothing like that. Okay, keep them out of the classroom because they are super distracting for all of us. Yeah. I am not necessarily requiring attendance, but if you miss a material and I cold call you for one of the assignments, hey, I want Joe to contribute to this particular problem, and Joe's not there, then you don't get points for that contribution. And that is part of your grade. It's basically kind of a homework, is you're supposed to be submitting stuff to me in the classroom so that we can all talk about it. And if you're not available to do so, that's going to cost you points. So I'm going to be taking roll to figure out who's coming and who's not coming, just as kind of a measure of who's contributing to class on the regular. But you lose points if you are missing a class where I call you. And I'm just going to be calling randomly. I'm going to kind of randomize my grade book over and over again and calling through everybody in the classroom so everybody gets an equal opportunity to participate. If you miss a class and as a consequence can't participate, you lost points, and that's your responsibility. So I'm going to suggest that you are here every single class. Block off these 75 minutes. I'll see you every Tuesday and Thursday from 1:30 to 2:45. And it is important, of course, that even above and beyond me cold calling you, that when other people are the ones being cold called, you're still contributing. You're still looking at their example, you're still chiming in, you're adding information to the chat, or you're speaking up on microphone. So this is an active, engaged environment. We're only going to get as much out of this as we put into it. So I'm expecting everybody to kind of step up and contribute to this class. All right, let's take a quick look at the syllabus. Can't do it that way. 1 second. Still a little bit slow on this interface. I wish I was faster. Syllabus is up on eCampus. Hopefully you've taken a look at it already. Obviously, we are meeting every Tuesday and Thursday from 1:30 to 2:45. My office hours are completely virtual this semester. I'm going to spend as little time on campus as I can for safety's sake. I have office hours scattered throughout the week, kind of staggered. So some people like early mornings, some people like later afternoons. Monday through Thursday, I always have 2 hours of office hours every day. My other classes, I have students that are required to meet with me for 10 minutes at a time throughout the semester. So my office hours could get kind of busy, and I won't necessarily have lots of drop-in hours available. So my recommendation is if you want to meet with me that you visit this Calendly link and you schedule a 10-minute meeting with me to talk with me about something. That way you are guaranteed to have my time dedicated to you for 10 minutes on a specific moment in time. If on a particular day you don't have a meeting and you want to try to drop into Zoom and I have availability, I will be happy to meet with you, but I can't guarantee that I will be free. I might be meeting with other students. And so when that happens, I can't get to you. They have priority because they've already scheduled. So the Calendly link is definitely your best bet of meeting with me. If you can't schedule a meeting with me, shoot me an email, because it's entirely possible that I can answer your question via email, or if I can't, I could schedule another meeting outside of my normal office hours so that we can have a quick visit and we can figure out what's going on with your particular concern. I'm happy to meet with you. I've got a lot of office hours, but I also have a lot of students this semester. I'm teaching 5 different classes. So I'll do my best. If you work with me, I think we can figure all this out. When you email me, give me 24 hours to get back to you. Chances are it's going to take a lot less time than that. I'm going to be answering emails throughout the day during the work week. And so when you email me in the middle of the day, you'll probably hear from me within an hour or 2. But there may be some situations where you email me something and it takes me a while to think about it, to get back to you. I might be busy with other things. And so 24-hour turnaround seems reasonable to me. If it's been more than 24 hours, feel free to shoot me another email and say, hey, I contacted you and I didn't hear back from you. What's going on? And I'll get back to you as quickly as I can at that point. I'll let you read through course description, learning outcomes, all that sort of stuff. We don't have any textbooks, but like I've shown you, you need to have access to Tableau, you need to have access to Lynda, and I'm going to recommend you have access to Lucidchart, but you are welcome to use other things. Let's talk a little bit about grading in this class. We're going to have a couple of different exams throughout the semester and during finals week, each one worth 20% of your grade. At the end of the semester, if your overall exam average is below 70%, then that's the best you can do in this class. The idea is that exams are controlled environments and you need to demonstrate competency in that controlled environment. So if you can't show me a C or a B or an A level of competency in the material on exams, then your team projects and your homeworks don't actually count for anything. So it's really important that you are paying attention and working hard on those exams so that you earn full credit for the class, including your homework and group projects. If your exam average is 68, 69%, you're getting a D in the class, even if your homeworks and group projects are great. They won't count for anything. This is a policy a lot of people in my department have, and it is set in stone. So there's nothing you can do about it. Please be careful and do well on your exams so that you avoid this consequence. I don't think anybody last spring had this issue. I don't want to have anybody have this issue this semester either. So just work hard on those exams and we should be in good shape. Again, I'll let you read through some of the rest of this. It's pretty straightforward. I will ask everybody to have 2 meetings with me for sure via office hours at a minimum. The first one between now and the 22nd of February, and the second one between the 1st of March and the 22nd of March. Pretty short window for that second one. Just kind of to touch base with everybody on an individual level and make sure the class is going okay. You don't have any particular concerns. There isn't anything unusual going on with you, especially given our environment right now. If you're having extracurricular issues with family members or your living arrangements or what have you, health issues, I'm going to want to know about it. So these will be your opportunities to, at a minimum, meet with me twice and have a one-on-one conversation with me. They're short, they're just 10 minutes, but I'm definitely going to see each one of you individually to just kind of check in and make sure that everything's going the way that it should be going and offer some advice if I can or answer some questions if I have to. Okay, so you are welcome to meet with me a lot more than that if you want to, but I'm going to see every one of you individually at least twice this semester. When you schedule that check-in, I expect you to show up. If you don't show up, I will take points away from you for your check-in. Last semester, for some reason, students were confused about this. They'd schedule meetings, never show up, and then wonder why they didn't get full credit for check-ins. Part of checking in is showing up for your appointment. So you are responsible for scheduling these appointments and then having them on your calendar and actually showing up for the meeting. I'm not going to remind you or send you anything. You have to be responsible for that. So hopefully that's a pretty common sense sort of thing, and you guys can do that for me. Again, you can read through a lot of this. Most of this is fairly straightforward boilerplate. If anyone in class does have any ADA needs, please let me know as soon as you can. I am more than happy to accommodate you. I just need to have some heads up so I can take care of that. It's easy enough. We are going to be taking academic integrity pretty seriously this semester. In my other classes, I've instituted some additional means of policing exams. I have not figured out exactly how this class is going to do that. I'll work on it with you, so I'll let you know more about that when we get there. But with the exception of the group work at the end of the semester, everything you do in this class is individual work. So when we're working through things in the classroom, it's individual work only. When we are submitting homeworks, it's individual work only. When you're working on your exams, it's individual work only. This is common sense, but I'm saying it out loud. When you are working on material in this class, unless it is a specific group project, the only person that's working on that work is you. You can ask me questions. You could have a casual conversation with some of the other students about, hey, I'm working on this homework and it's hard, but you can't get any additional help from anybody in the outside world. You can't copy and paste somebody else's work or go Google something and submit it as if it's your own. Everything is your work and your work only. Again, that seems common sense to me. If you have any questions about that, please let me know and I'll be happy to clarify. Last page of the syllabus has our schedule. It's a bit loose because this is only the second time I've taught this class and the first time that I've taught it synchronously online. So I think this is how it's going to work. I'm pretty sure these exams are going to be when they are set in the schedule. But if something weird happens, and given our, again, current situation, weird things seem to happen all the time, we may have to be flexible about how the schedule works. We may have to move some of our topics around. We may have to shuffle some things a little bit. And I will work with you to make sure that you are well aware of what's happening well in advance. If it's my responsibility, because I'm having to change something, I will make sure that I bear the cost of that. So if I have to give some extra credit or give a little bit of leeway on an assignment, I absolutely will. I will be as fair as I possibly can in exchange for you being flexible with how we handle these things. I'm going to try to stick to the schedule as closely as I possibly can, but I'm sure you can understand that there may be some wiggle room here, and I appreciate your understanding on that. All right. I think that's everything as far as the syllabus. eCampus is fairly straightforward. That's going to be where you can get the lecture notes, where you can get the workbooks, where you can submit assignments, and where you'll be able to get and send your exam information. So everything that is possible to submit back and forth through eCampus, that's going to be our means of communicating with each other. I know some of your classes have probably transitioned to Canvas. Even though I'm a tech guy, I was actually a little leery about Canvas. It did not seem fully baked last fall, and I didn't make the transition to it even yet this spring. I think it's probably about ready this year, but I wasn't ready for it myself. So I'm still sticking with the old school eCampus. It's going to work great for us. Anytime I need to communicate with you, I will be creating an announcement on eCampus, and then I check the box that says send this to everyone via email. I am not responsible for your email working correctly. I'm only responsible for communicating through eCampus. So hopefully you'll get that email and you'll know what's going on in the class. But if for some reason your email is not working, you're still responsible for checking the announcements on eCampus and being aware of the information that's there. So if I post something as an announcement on eCampus, you're responsible for knowing that information. And it could be simple things like I've just put up a new version of something, or I'm changing something small in the schedule, or I might be giving you hints on how to work through a particular problem. So do make sure you're paying attention to those announcements. I promise they are always going to be something that is important to the class. I won't be bombarding you with nonsense announcements. So if you see something from me, pay attention to it, because it's going to be something you need to know as you move through the class. Obviously, this class has lots of different metrics. I will be kind of grading your in-class exercises. So if I'm cold calling you, I'm expecting you to contribute. I'm expecting people to speak up and talk about those sorts of things. That'll be part of your grade. We will have some homeworks throughout the semester. I don't know exactly how those are going to be shaped up because it's going to depend on how the in-class exercises go. Really, the way this works is if we work through some problems in class and we feel like we've got them solved, we don't need to do them as homeworks because we work through them together. But if there's some problems we don't get to, or some problems we talk about in class and we don't quite come up with a solution, I might then say, hey, you know what you guys should do is go work on this a little bit more on your own and submit it to me as a homework. So there's going to be some flexibility in terms of how the homework works through the semester based upon our day-to-day interactions in the classroom, but you'll have some opportunities to contribute some of your work via homework for grading. And then we'll obviously have some exams. And then at the very end of the semester, we're going to form you up into a couple different groups and work on projects. We'll actually be forming those groups earlier rather than later because there'll be some milestones earlier in the semester to kind of step you through that process. And I'll talk about that in a couple of weeks when we get farther into the material. I already talked about the 70% policy, so hopefully you were all paying attention to that. In terms of how you are successful in this class, obviously the most important thing you can do is come to class regularly so that you're contributing, you're listening, you're absorbing the information. You're working through the in-class exercises before we meet for class so that you might be contributing as a cold call, or you might be contributing as voicing your opinion on somebody else's work, but you're familiar with the work. If you have homework assignments, you're completing the homework assignments, of course. And then you're asking me questions. I've not had a problem with this in any of my classes. And in fact, in this class in particular, I had lots of great questions last spring. I'm anticipating lots of great questions from you this semester as well. part of the learning experience is just admitting, I don't quite understand how this works. Can you explain it further? And I'll do my best to do so. So lots of questions will lead to success in the class for sure. Already talked about academic integrity. I think we're good as far as that is concerned. All right, so that's it as far as my introductory slide deck. Any questions for me on how this class is going to work? I don't see anything in the chat. So to start with, you guys are all failing miserably about being vocal and contributing in class. So everybody gets a 0. No, I'm just kidding.
I have a question.
I hear people. All right. Go ahead. Whoever wants to go first.
I have a question.
I can go first. Oh.
All right. I'm going to ask for Alexandra to go
You're
first.
fine.
Sorry, it's hard to coordinate this, but we'll do this. Alexandra King, please go ahead, and then I'll get to Allison.
Sorry. So throughout the past 4 years, I'm a senior. I always based my grade off of homework and projects that have really bad testing anxiety. What would you recommend I do about that?
We can talk a little bit further in person if you want. Well, in person,
Okay.
One-on-one about exam anxiety. There may be some things we can do, and certainly it may be something where you want to go talk to some experts about getting some additional resources. So we should probably talk about that a little bit further one-on-one. So schedule a meeting with me as soon as you can via Calendly, and let's have a discussion about that for sure.
All right, thank you.
Of course. Allison Campbell.
Yes, so I tried downloading the Tableau stuff last night, and there were 2 different links it said that we were supposed to download. The first one I didn't have a problem with. The second one kept like crashing.
Well, the second link is for visiting the Linda videos, yes?
I don't remember. I think they were both with the Tableau and like downloading them to my computer, but maybe I could talk to you about that.
Yeah, again, that's probably a good one where we have a one-on-one and you could share your screen and we can try to work through it. We're way early in the semester, and the good news about Tableau is we won't officially be using Tableau for class material until very late in the semester. Now, you're going to be working through the tutorials if you're following along with my schedule earlier than that, but it is not a big deal if you don't have it working right now. In the next week or 2, we can get it working, no problem, and then we'll go from there, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Maybe raise your hand. See, this is new to me, so I got to figure this out. If you raise your hand, then I'll ask you to speak up, and I'll be happy to answer your question. Everybody else good? Yeah? Okay. So on Thursday, we're going to have our first honest to goodness real class, and I'm going to be lecturing again. So this is going to be one more day where, for the most part, I'm going to be delivering some content to you. But there's certainly the possibility that I'll be talking through a slide deck and then ask some questions of you. So be ready. I'm going to have sort of a randomized grade book off to the side, and I might call on a couple of you to contribute a little bit as I talk through that slide deck. And again, the same drill. While I'm talking, you are absolutely welcome to turn off your muted microphones, or turn on your microphone and say, hey, Ted, I don't understand what's going on there, and interrupt me. Or if you want, you can type your question in chat. And when I'm lecturing, I'm going to try to take a pause probably every 15 minutes and go take a look at the chat, and maybe even give you 30 seconds if you have to run out to quick use the bathroom or go get a drink or whatever. So we'll try to have, little mini breaks, that kind of thing, because sitting in front of a computer is kind of boring. But I'll do my best to kind of move back and forth between your questions and the material. If I'm not doing a good job, feel free to send me an email and say, hey, this one thing you're doing in class, don't do that. I can't promise that I will do what you tell me to do, but I'll listen. So if you have contributions, if you're thinking that there's something there, I could do it a little bit differently. This is new to me. And so if I can improve upon it and deliver better content, I absolutely will. So feel free to politely contribute your ideas, and I will take them under advisement for sure. Okay, I still don't see any questions in chat. Nobody else is speaking up, so I think we're probably good for today. Thank you very much for meeting with me. I'm going to post a link to this recording, and I will be posting links to all of our classes in the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel I started very late last spring, so it just has a couple of videos that helped us kind of wrap up last semester. But as we move through this semester, in addition to my talks with you, If I need to do some additional videos where I demonstrate some things, some software and all that sort of thing, I will. And so they'll all show up in that YouTube link, which is available on eCampus. So do take a look at that. And if you just want to review things that you were in attendance for, or you missed a class and you need to catch up, I'll always have a recording of the classroom. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad to see everybody. I'm going to skip Tick and Roll. I'll do it next time. And so I'll see you on Thursday, and we'll start working through the actual material. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Ed.